All right, next topic. Another. Speaking of more exciting news, good Lord, good.
There goes a lung.
Examples of a filmmaker getting it right once again with superheroes. We got more casting news for Superman Legacy.
I am beyond pleased.
Brilliant move, WB. I know what you're doing. I know what they're doing. The Flash failed so epically. They're like, well, look at this shiny new movie we're working on. Oh, Blue Beetle looks good too, right? Well, look at this shiny new Superman movie. But you know what? I'm here for it. So, two things we already knew coming into this. It was David Corenswet or Corens. I'm butchering his name, but we know who this Superman
is. It's some dude.
And Rachel Brosnahan, I think. I'm butchering these names.
Lady.
Stop it. Marvelous Miss Maisel, which wrapped up. Great show. Loved it.
Oh, cool.
She is going to be Lois Lane, and that was exciting to me because I think she's a perfect cast for that. And then we got even more this past week, and I got to add a new one because this happened after I wrote it, but your boy NoHo Hank from Barry, he's going to be in it as, what was it, Metamorpho,
yeah. So while you're doing that...
So he's in it, which I think you look at like some of these are just like, okay, we're really hitting good notes here. Like this seems like a pretty solid cast.
Is a member of the Outsiders who was a team that was led by Batman for many years. So you should be well familiar with Metamorpho.
Yeah. Well, Elemental
and
Man.
Katana.
Yeah. But I'm excited. I think this cast looks great because we have.
Who else was in the Outsiders? Black Lightning. Yeah.
We have NoHo Hank, who he's also in I think it was Fatherhood was the name of it. It was a Kevin Hart movie. He's really funny in that too. That dude's funny, and so I'm excited about him being a part of it. Isabella Merced will play Hawk Girl.
Huh?
Hawk Girl.
Oh, I thought you said Hot Girl, and I'm like,
what? Sorry. Ah, damn it! Where was the board? It's too late now. The moment's gone.
I thought you said Hot Girl. Oh.
I said Hawk Girl.
That's cool.
Eddie Gathige. I'm butchering these names. I'm sorry. Will be Mr. Terrific.
Okay.
And then Nathan Fillion will be Guy Gardner, Green Lantern.
Yes.
Everybody's like, Hal. Like, it's surprising he's not Hal. And I think it's an age thing. And I also think it could be a way that they're saying that he is the Green Lantern because Hal and John are off-world doing some other shit, and like he's stuck on Earth, like he's back on Earth to help that. I don't know, something like that.
If they don't give us a fucking bowl cut, I'm gonna be really pissed.
Either way, the fact that
I want a bowl cut, James Gunn.
Tyler, the fact that James Gunn works with Nathan Fillion his whole career, and then says, "Hey, buddy, I'm giving you a Green Lantern spot in a live-action movie." That's awesome. Now, people could say like, "Oh, you're hiring your friends." I'm like, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want to work with your friends? Like, fuck off.
I'm assuming that most of the right wingers and stuff really love Adam Sandler movies, and let me just tell you,
all he does is hire his friends.
Right, and hey, Jake,
there's nothing wrong with it.
You say you have a $300 million contract with Netflix to make movies for a while, whatever the fuck you want.
You don't think I'm not going to call you? Come on.
Why wouldn't I have all of my friends on my movie who are all actors?
And work with me and know me. You work with who you know. Like, it's silly. Like, dude,
directors have actors. You know, there's a reason why De Niro worked with Scorsese. There's a reason why
Leonardo works with Scorsese.
And Pitt has had a little bit of a run with Tarantino. Samuel L. Jackson, Tarantino. Duh. Yeah. Obviously.
Yeah. Tim Burton and Johnny Depp, you know, like it's happened throughout, and there's nothing wrong with it. But that's what I mean. I feel like sometimes, like the Nathan Fillion thing, I think most people are excited about it, but I think there is that Snyder cult audience that is not even like the people that are just like against this James Gunn universe.
Yeah.
Will make that criticism, and I'm like, that's such a shitty like that's not a criticism, because like you just said, there are plenty of great examples of actors and directors working together through multiple projects, and you know what? They're good because they know each other and they're friends and they're comfortable and they know how to work with each other and tell a story together. It's almost like that's a good thing. It's like so fucking dumb. It's such a lame like they're just coping, because everything we're learning right now with Superman Legacy, it's exciting. Because and James Gunn also confirmed on Twitter, he said, I'm not putting these characters in this movie to set up a project. They're part of the story. It's not intention of like, well, we're going to, and then out of this, we're going to make the Guy Gardner one. And then we're going to, it's like, it's not doing that. It's saying it's in this world, but it's still.
I trust James Gunn because, whoever made Black Adam, looking at you, Dwayne, whoever made Black Adam was clearly.
What the Rock
is cooking. Was clearly meant to set up a JSA project. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's clearly meant, and you could tell.
Yeah,
you could tell.
They're literally in the movie.
I don't know. I mean, I trust James Gunn not to. He hasn't. I think I think the success behind James Gunn is that he knows he can't repeat himself, or that he shouldn't. And he knows he doesn't have to. One of those three.
I also think you said something to the effect of he doesn't write his stories to necessarily set things up. But now he did set things up with Guardians 1 because he said that's the one thing that Feige required was he tie it to the Infinity Stones. That was it. But like if you watch that Guardians trilogy, it is a connected story between those group of people. Yes, they show up in other movies, but that is like James Gunn wrote those characters with the same through line throughout. You know what I mean? And I think that's what we're seeing with Legacy. I think he's being genuine when he's saying like these characters have a purpose to this story. They're not just there to set up the JSA or the Justice League or whatever. They're just a part of this story that I wrote, which is exciting because DC needs to embrace that side of itself. What makes DC work, and you can push back on this, I think DC makes better team books.
You're wrong.
In my opinion, I think the Justice...
Your opinion doesn't matter. I got Jesus on my side.
No, I do, and he's in a red cape, motherfucker.
No,
but in my opinion, and I'm a DC fanboy shill. Take that with what you will, with a grain of salt. My opinion is I've always preferred the Justice League versus the Avengers. I always thought Justice League was a better team, in my opinion. And I've upset Tyler.
I think I'm gonna throw up.
What? You got Batman, you got Superman, you got Wonder Woman, you got a Green Lantern.
If you don't know, I am a huge fan of Justice League International, which came out in the 80s. Geffen, DeMatteis, McGuire, and is one of the greatest team books in DC history. And
you're saying nice things about DC?
I like a lot of DC. I do. If I'm in this comic store, or if I'm...
You just prefer Marvel. It's fine. I'm just messing with you.
But it's true. Like, I'll walk in front, and maybe it's... I mean, I don't generally buy any DC books because I'm like, I don't really care that much.
And I'll be honest.
I can buy a Marvel book and be back the next month to get it again if it's a decent enough story, because I care about the characters. Just like, yeah. But Justice League International is one of the all-time greatest team books in comic book history, dude. It's the one-punch Batman Guy Gardner, okay? It's the fucking Shazam eating Oreo cookies because nobody knows he's a fucking 8-year-old kid named Billy Batson, okay?
Yeah.
It's fucking Booster Gold fucking and Beetle and Blue Beetle. It's fucking classic, okay? So, I will give you that I don't know that I can compare the two, so I can't really say you're not right. I do generally enjoy and buy more solo books when I'm buying Marvel. I did get into the Avengers recently, as you know, but because they were doing like this huge multiversal thing, and it was pretty fucking cool. But yeah, I mean, you may very well be right. I don't read enough. I don't think I read enough team books in Marvel to make that distinction.
This is also coming with me.
But X-Men in the 80s and in early 90s was fucking top notch.
But this is also coming from my opinion of doing our sideshow, Drawn to DC, where I've been watching.
I'm not invited.
These DC animated movies, and I've talked about it ad nauseum on that show, and I talked about it on this show. I just think DC's strength is its ability to weave in a good, believable way, weave these characters together. Right? I can believe that Batman and Superman and Green Lantern and Wonder Woman and all, Aquaman, whoever, are on this team together, and they do. I've always thought that DC has done a really good job of weaving its continuity into everything. And
by the way, after
they also have a really bad problem with doing that too much and then having to constantly reset, because everything is, if you want to read one story, you have to read 6 or 7 different fucking titles at a time. You know what I mean?
The problem with DC, and
that's always been my issue with DC.
Here's the biggest issue with DC.
And Marvel does it too. Everybody does it.
Hang on. Here's the biggest issue with DC. For the first, from the 30s until pretty much like the 70s, there's no continuity. None. Writers don't pay attention to what other writers are doing. Writers write shit the way they want and don't give a shit how somebody else writes that character.
That's why you have constant retcons.
Exactly. Right. So in the 70s, 60s and 70s, they decide we're going to make all these Earths to explain the continuity and why these characters act the way they do, blah, 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 which is dumb. Then they get themselves into a quagmire for 10 years. And then they have Legends, and then they have the Crisis on Infinite Earths. Well, I'm sorry. Reverse that. Crisis on Infinite Earths, and then Legends resets the DC universe. And then Man of Steel resets Superman, all that shit, right? Then, so you have like 50 years. You have almost 50 years of no continuity. Then like 10 of like really, really convoluted continuity. And then you have
the New 52.
Right.
And then the Rebirth. And now we're on...
The problem is that they had, in the 90s, they had like a Crisis. And then they had another one in the aughts. And then they had another one in the 10s.
Dark Knight's Metal? Remember that?
Yes. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Dark Multiverse? Yeah.
I mean, that stuff was cool, but like, what are you guys doing? I mean, I will say this about Marvel. Marvel has never done a hard fucking reset. They never have. They've done retconning to the point where things aren't the same. And they can explain away why Peter Parker is whatever, right? They can explain away why people don't age and whatnot.
I want to say I don't have a problem with multiverses. I do want to make a point clear that I do like Dark Knight's Metal, and I don't.
It can be fun.
It's not. I think there's some cool things that came out of it. I think that the problem is they found some things that are really cool, and they kind of. I don't know. I kind of was over the Batman Who Laughs after his story. I was like, you know what? Okay, that was a good story. I don't need any more of this. Whatever.
Yeah.
Like, but what I was trying to say is like that's the thing. DC makes it such like this. They go with like this New 52 thing, and they have this big event, blow it all up again. Goes into
like a year later.
Goes into Rebirth.
What was it, like 2 years later or something? But they didn't even give 52 a chance to.
But that's what's so frustrating.
But 52 was really bad.
Like I said, they've always been really good at weaving in this stuff. So then. You do get invested like, oh, this is the new 52 version of Batman. This is the new 52 Superman. And then we go, oh, well, now we got to change it to this to do Rebirth. We got to do this.
Right.
And I understand how that, like, I think that's a fair criticism of canon. And I think that's what I'm interested to see what James Gunn can do with this connectivity.
Which is why across the Spider-Verse, that whole canon bit is so fucking brilliant, because it's just like it's so meta when it comes to comics.
Yeah,
and
because it always has to be this one thing.
You ruined a canon event, yeah.
Who cares? Let them make whatever they want to make.
Here's something that I want to bring up that a lot of people who read comic books don't think about or talk about enough, okay? There's no rule for how much time takes place between each issue.
No.
Okay, now I want to explain something to our younger listeners. There was a book in the 80s from Epic called The Nom, and it was written by, I can't remember who wrote it, but Michael Golden drew the first couple issues. But it was a hard and real look at what it was like to be a soldier in Vietnam. And what they did was they had an edict on this comic. From the time the one issue ends until the next one starts, that's 30 days. These characters are living their lives while we're waiting for the next issue. Yeah. Because 12 issues after the first, we introduce the main character in issue 1, and then in issue 12 or 13, he goes back home because he's served his tour. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, I remember reading that because there was they had like a thing, maybe it was the letters page or something, or I can't remember, but when I was younger, I read about that and how the guy, the writer was saying like, that's different. That's what's different about our comic book than any other ones, because a lot of
Real
comics,
time passes.
I mean, sometimes not at all. I mean, sometimes it's like, look, it goes right into the next.
Yeah, and they kind of
a second later or whatever.
I think it was.
So, but there's no rules, and that's fair. It's fine.
Don't forget, there was Doomsday Clock in between there when they're trying to bring in the Watchmen universe.
Oh yeah.
DC
Oh
and all
God,
that.
yes, Jesus.
So
But I'm saying, like, there's no rules. So
That's
I
what
mean,
I'm getting
that
back-
also
that's
convolutes
what I'm
it.
getting back to.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing they messed up. Like, I think Marvel, might have been Marvel or DC, tried to say, like, oh, this canon from the 60s, 70s, 80s, all that was, like, only 5 years
Right.
in our time. And it's
Well,
like, it just doesn't work, because that's just, you don't have to put a definitive timeline on it. That's the thing.
At some point, you're going to have to acknowledge and change Captain America's story.
Because you can only tell so many stories.
No, I mean, well, I started saying it, but then I was realizing, wait, no, it's kind of important that he stays in World War II and that you don't update him for, like, Vietnam or Afghanistan or any of that shit. Because World War II, to be honest, was the last time that, the U.S. was, like, definitively the good guys. You know what I mean?
And gung-ho patriotism.
I think we all agree that.
Yeah. I would say 9/11 was around that time when we were that.
Yeah, but there was too many fuckers, like, taking advantage of that shit to fucking strip away all our freedoms.
Yeah.
So no.
But anyway.
But you know what I mean. So, but I mean, can you still, like? I love that. Like 10 or the last 2 decades. I can't remember when. It was probably the aughts. But they aged Steve Rogers. I don't know if you remember this, but it was, I want to say the aughts, but they basically, he lost the super soldier serum, and so he aged, like, rapidly to what the age he really would have been. I'm like, in 20, 30 years, that's not a possible story to tell, because he'd be dead.
Yeah.
I mean, in 20, 30 years, guys, it's going to be 100 years since World War II. And I cannot fucking believe that we're still fighting goddamn Nazis.
Yeah.
Sorry for that. But I wanted to wake everybody up who was listening to the mellifluous voice of my voice.
Here's how we tie it in.
Let's do it.
Which is why we need a hopeful, fun Superman.
Yeah.
I don't want this dour fucking Snyder fucking moody DC shit.
Don't get me wrong.
You can do that with the
When
you
Man-
can do that in other
When
parts.
the first trailer for Man of Steel came out, I had a hard on. It was awesome.
That was a great score.
It looked so good, right?
The score was unbelievable.
The Russell Crowe fucking narration.
And the build, the
wonders.
swelling when he could fly. It was a beautiful.
Oh, and all the fucking dust and shit. Yeah. Oh my god. I came so hard.
We all did.
We all did. Some of us more than others. Snyderverse cults. Sorry.
You take it back.
But some of them did. Some of them came and were like, "That's the best orgasm I'm ever gonna have.
I'm never going to beat
I'm
that.
never gonna beat that.
Never
Better
gonna
stick with
do it."
Snyder, or else I'm never gonna." Is that what it is?
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
back to the show.
No.
Wow.
Okay.
I'm interested. Very interested. I was already, but I kind of want. And again, it's kind of obvious that DC and Warner Brothers is like, well, let's show them this because they're worried. Because I know that I think they're expecting to take a loss on Blue Beetle too, to be honest. But we'll see.
Let's be honest. You are.
It did the most recent trailer was great, but I just
I'll still go see it. We should go see it.
I don't think I want to support it, but we'll go see it. But like,
I like that actor.
the problem is I don't think a lot of general audiences are. I think it's the same thing that happened to Shazam. I think it's the same thing that...
Which sucks because I was talking to my brother at...
I really enjoyed that movie.
4th of July, we had a little grill out, and I was talking to my brother. I was like, did you see Shazam? And he has kind of sworn off DC movies for a while, ever since, I think, Man of Steel. I don't even know if he saw that. I'm sure that he's seen them by now, but I know... He goes to see the Marvel movies, in the theater like 2 or 3 times the first weekend, and still does. But he's kind of sworn off DC movies, and I don't blame him too much. But I did tell him, I'm like, honestly, Shazam was one of the best DC movies that's come out in a long time.
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised.
It's a fun movie.
It was great.
Let's go, DC. Get it together. Woo!
No.
All right.
Off panel, off topic with Jake and Tyler.